Okay, so this week, I guess we're starting with House of the Clock and its Walls, which last week you were saying Venom was garbage, and this week we're trading places because I think this movie was a 4 out of 10.
We are. Wait, 4 out of 10. Oh yeah.
I gave it a 4.
Up. Yeah, not fair. Because I predicted a 5, and I was hoping for a 6, and it ended up being a 5.
No, yeah, I know.
What did you predict?
I predicted a positive, like a 6.
No, you predicted a negative score, didn't you?
At best, I thought it would be a 6.
Yeah.
And then at worst, I thought it could even be a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, but it's basically it's not worth watching. It's so passable.
Yeah, no, we kind of
so boring.
we went to see it on a whim because Jack Black was in it, and I kind of like the Goosebumps movie, even though I haven't seen it. Like, I really want to see it.
You like the idea of it?
And Jack Black, I think he's funny in a lot of movies.
And he works for the role.
Wouldn't you agree? And he works for the role too.
He works in the movie.
So
does Kate Blanchett.
And there's a lot of concepts in the movie that go unutilized.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Especially, there was something that I noticed in the film that Sam didn't. The idea that the not Tilda Swinton,
Kate
Blanchett's character, she was a Holocaust survivor. That's some high
Which
concept
she totally
shit
is.
that I love.
It's confirmed. We looked it up, and like, holy shit,
awesome.
The fact that Disney put that in their movie, yeah. And
No,
I don't think it was part of the original novel, which like is great.
Because,
I mean, spoilers. It's like she's a witch, and that's basically how she loses her magic because it evented a Holocaust, and that's some committed storytelling. You know, that's the kind of stuff that raises the movie up. But then we also got a cat.
We got the kid doing stupid shit,
that
and we
shits
got
all over the house, and it's
the bullies.
Dumb.
It's
and
terrible.
The bullies.
But I think that the most important thing that this movie can do is sort of lead into our discussion that we sort of had since watching that. That's like the way that they go really non-committal with the idea of it being like a horror movie or any form of surreal movie. You know, because like we both came to an agreement that Coraline is our favorite example of like a children's movie that's really dark and really grim, and I think this movie played with committing to that idea, definitely, because it had raising the undead and all kinds of stuff like that. But you know, like a lot of movies nowadays, and it's really disappointing to say that, but my expectations were rock bottom just because it was so clear that House with the Clock on its Walls was a cash grab seasonal film.
Yeah. For Halloween, yeah.
It was they put it out probably just to compete with Goosebumps, right? Because Goosebumps is a competitor. Is it Paramount? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. Universal.
Yeah. Just to compete, which is really a bummer because like they have some concepts and some visuals as well.
Oh yeah.
In this movie that really, you know, put it up there as like if I could rewrite this movie, fuck, I would, because fuck, that would be some sick shit.
You could make some Caroline level stuff. That's definitely a fact. So you check it out if you're really into the aesthetic, if you're really into Halloween, but otherwise it is just not worth your time or your money.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was an interesting watch, and we had a lot of interesting discussion. It was better than Venom.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
It was better than Venom, but it was weak when I compare it to things like Bridge to Terabithia or
Caroline, or even Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas, or even like Christmas Stories and a few other Christmas movies. A few other movies that involve children delving into this strange world. Narnia. Yeah. Like, those Narnia movies are pretty weak, but this is worse than those.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So like,
those are at least above average.
Yeah,
the middle ground.
So like, yeah. It sucks that it had to be like this because conceptually, when I came out of it, I was like, they were playing some really interesting stuff, but you know, it's just gonna be how it is this season. It really sucks though because we don't get any like Frankenweenies or Coralines or any cool Halloween movies because we've gotten a few, you know, in the 2000s 2010s era. We've gotten our handful of like. They would come out with a box trolls or Frankenweenie or stuff like that.
Yeah, but unless they're franchisable, they're not going to be made.
That's true, and those movies especially are really hard to franchise because of the medium that they work with, the stop motion stuff with Frankenweenie and box trolls. It's like, wow, that's fucking too much.
Yeah.
Which sucks
at least we won't get a franchise spin-off from this movie.
Oh yeah,
that's a solace.
It sucks, but
because it's just committed to being a coherent story.
True. Which I would have less hope for a House of the Clock and its Walls sequels than I do due for a Venom sequel.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like a
That's
Venom
because
sequel
Venom
is-
has set itself up for sequels and for the franchise, which leads us into today's topic,
Yeah, okay.
which is going to be trilogies.
Yeah, all right, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
We decided this week that we're going to cover trilogies because we kind of been dealing with exclusively named franchises, and we wanted to talk about phenomena that, like cross the entire spectrum of Hollywood with
basically
all kinds of
trilogies in the
different
sense that they form like the stepping stones for a franchise to form.
Yeah.
Right, because as we discussed, what you want obviously is you want a movie that what did you say? A movie that tests the water, or
proof of concept.
yeah, proof of concept. That's it. Proof of concept movie that then leads to a sequel.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you get the coherent trilogy. And then, when you get beyond that, you've got yourself a franchise.
Yeah, so, and we had a lot of discussion, we have a lot of notes on different forms of the trilogy, and obviously the first ones that come to mind for us are the Lord of the Rings stuff, which we sort of discussed early on, because they're an interesting case of being adapted from material that was originally written, in one long story.
But already a trilogy.
And then divided.
Yeah.
So he conceptualized the end and then everything in between and then divided it into books.
Yeah.
So, it feels clearer to me why Lord of the Rings is a success story where Star Wars isn't. Because Star Wars was written, it was being developed upon continuously over the course of the trilogy, but Peter Jackson, all he had to decide what to do was how to effectively adapt the book and eliminate what he had to eliminate and add context in certain scenarios.
For sure.
So I mean, I think
so in that sense, Lord of the Rings is a very traditional trilogy because it's already based on a trilogy of books.
I think I wouldn't say traditional, but I would say that it is much more
coherent.
I would say it's traditional, but I would use traditional in a different context. I would say Lord of the Rings is easy to see why that's a really successful trilogy as a set of 3 movies.
Right.
Because it's one long story.
Yeah.
Right? Star Wars is the same, and I would say that that's successful too, because it is one long story told across 3 movies. But unlike Lord of the Rings, it was written, it was iterated upon as it went on.
Yeah.
Which was something that's interesting, some stuff that developed.
Yeah, and Star Wars is a great example of this lifespan that we want to talk about, where first movie is a proof of concept movie.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars, I mean, it's an amazing story in of itself, how A New Hope was made.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that movie
hugely.
was... Yeah, it was such a shot in the dark, basically. Half the people working on it were expecting it not to succeed.
Yeah.
Like, it's great the way that it worked, the way it did.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we got the sequel. Right,
Yeah.
and we had a risk of sequelitis, but they avoided that by making it just a banger, spot-on movie.
Yeah.
And then we closed it all off with the third movie, making it a trilogy.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we got ourselves a franchise.
Yeah, they expanded it out into a franchise. But I think that this is a good point that we've made in our notes. That's in my notes. The idea that trilogies are often like expanded upon into franchises, because we have a lot of examples. We wrote down tons of examples.
Yeah.
And stuff like Alien gets expanded upon into a franchise. We were mentioning earlier today. Pirates of the Caribbean is a good example of sort of a trilogy, a movie series that started with this trilogy mentality that then expanded into a franchise.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting sort of phenomena.
And we also took note of the fact that as you go along this whole path of getting the trilogy and then expanding into a franchise, the executives take more and more control, and there's basically less creative expression.
Yeah,
as you go down.
I
the,
think
down the path.
That's an interesting discussion, because the case that we used for that was Spider-Man
and Pirates of the Caribbean.
And Pirates of the Caribbean. But I think
the first movie.
I have more knowledge of the scenario surrounding Spider-Man, and I think X-Men is in a similar boat as well. Because, with these 2 franchises, they were essentially auteured by their chosen director for the first 2 movies. And then in the third movie, obviously, I think that there was some obvious pointing towards, like, a studio overhead going, like, you have to push the franchise in this direction because we want more and more sequels, right?
Yeah.
So we want you to introduce Venom because that's success. We want you to do the Phoenix Saga because that's a success. Bryan Singer, he dropped off of X-Men. He opted out of X-Men 3, which sort of left it in the hands of executives to push I can't even remember the guy's name. He's
some other director.
Some dumbass who directed. I mean, he's fine. I couldn't do what he does. I could, maybe, but I'm not at that level.
I'd call him an executive spawn because I think that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, he kind of was.
His resume yesterday. It was just had some generic titles on
it. Oh
yeah.
Yeah. He suffered. He suffered in the role, and there's definitely like a loss of identity, and you can feel it in the Spider-Man movies as well.
Right.
Because they are campy and corny, but they do play with real emotional stories. You know, with a few characters. Yeah, they don't play with conveying real emotional stories. They just play with real emotional stories.
Hold on. Is the third one directed by
yeah, it is, but the studio overheads really wanted to push. So Sam Raimi, he wanted just to do Sandman and Green Goblin,
right,
and have Green Goblin assist in the fight against Sandman at the end of the movie. But then the studio pushed for him to put Venom in.
Yeah, they wanted Venom.
And then Sam Raimi was just like, yeah, sure. And then he did the whole like dorky dancing scene, all the stuff that's like really cringy about.
Do you reckon it was self-parody? Do you reckon he did it on purpose because he was like trying to stick it to the man?
I could honestly think like
I could believe that.
I could believe that as well because if you look at the second movie, there's exactly the same sequence, but he's a dork. Like, he's a loser. He's not...
He's already...
He's got the girl there, but, like, he loses his powers in the second one, and so there's a sequence of him, like, walking down the street, and it's playing this, like, melancholic music, and he drops his glasses, and then he slowly gets up. It's so bad. It's so terrible. Bad. And then it's like almost the same thing in the third movie, except he's just this douchebag walking down the street going, hey ladies.
But yeah, it's actually like it's total self-parody. I think I don't like those movies. I don't, despite the fact that I only watched the first one again recently. But I at least have some respect for the fact that everyone working on it was kind of like, wow, we're just phoning it in.
Yeah, it sucked though because I think that it definitely with Sandman, like there was a deliverance. There was some delivery.
There were ideas there that could definitely like the scene where he first like forms himself in that pit where he gets created. Mm-hmm. That was some cool stuff. I remember that. Yeah.
Conceptually, the movies were working on a level that you could tell Sam Raimi was really paying attention to what he was doing.
Yeah.
But obviously with this third movie, there's this studio overhead that goes in. I think it's less so with Pirates though. Pirates of the Caribbean, because I feel like they told the first story and that was their proof of concept, and then it fits in with like they developed the story out further.
I mean, they just expanded on pirate mythology, but the quality dipped because the first one really felt like an adventure that stood alone and was just a lot of fun to watch.
So what do we get? Pirates of the Caribbean, then Dead Man's Chest, then World's End,
mm-hmm.
and then we got On Stranger Tides, and then the last one, which was...
God, I watched that most recently and I've completely forgotten the title.
The one with Balthazar Blake or whatever?
There's nothing good in that movie. It was so bad.
Yeah, I like the villain.
Yeah, but like the villain was
Salazar.
Yeah, the actor's great, and he was in Mother as well. And I did not like Mother, but I respected his performance. It's just like he couldn't carry that movie. Yeah, nothing could.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's an interesting discussion with regards to franchises that with studio overhead, because arguably, and conceptually, you could say that the Ewoks were kind of like a Venom thing, The studio wanted some marketable alien stuff to happen, some marketable, merchandisable characters.
Yeah.
And toyetic characters is what I should say.
Instead of the Wookiees, which were originally conceptualized to be like they were supposed to land on Kashyyyk and have the final conflict there,
exactly.
Which would have been so much cooler. Right?
It would have been sick, but so it's interesting how that works, the studio overhead. So I guess, to talk about that for a second, like, there are trilogies that exist out there that aren't, that are trilogies in the context of a franchise, but don't necessarily sort of have a cohesive, like a trilogy storyline, which we have a few notes on them. I like the best examples of this is stuff like horror movies, like Child's Play and The Evil Dead.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but like The Evil Dead kind of stopped after the third movie anyway, and delved into the TV show instead. Yeah.
All right. Well, instead of just discussing it sort of freeform, let's go through. I got a note here that's we're talking about two sort of development plans, layouts for franchises that exist that we've noticed among a lot of the franchises that we listed when we were doing our notes for this episode, right?
Yeah.
So up here at the top we have like a movie by movie success rate franchise
The whole
development
proof of
plan.
concept.
Yeah, but
expanding on that.
not even just the proof of concept. More so, we get a first movie that's a huge success, and then they want a sequel, so they get the second movie, and that's a huge success, but for different reasons. And then a third movie that's another huge success, but also for different reasons. And we discussed the post that you put up on the essay on Terminator 2 was something that we discussed in that discussion. That's cataloged or logged in that essay. Was something about like how the second Terminator movie changes the identity of the first movie. It changes it in a way that's positive, but it
has a lasting impression on the franchise.
It's a subversion.
It kind of drags it down.
It's a subversion, and it is an exploration of the original and what makes the original great.
Yeah.
But in that, it kind of leaves behind some elements of the original that are, you know, the identity of the franchise that are carried, that exist in the sequel, but aren't, you know, the core of the sequel's identity as a sequel.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you just lose it down the line. The further you go, the more you kind of lose what made the original a success, which is what made the sequel a success.
Yeah.
So, you discussing Alien in Terminator and Alien, and I think that's a good place to start with this like movie by movie success story,
right?
Because the first Alien and the first Terminator, success, huge hits, massive hits, and funnily enough, James Cameron directs both sequels. And he takes the franchise in a new direction that expands upon it.
Yeah, which is an even bigger success.
Yeah.
Because most people do prefer Aliens over Alien and Terminator 2 over the first Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, when we were having this discussion, I made the point that as it went on, people tried to replicate the success of Aliens and not Alien.
Yeah.
When probably the most successful part of the Alien franchise in the last several years has been the video game.
Yeah, which was a return to form, because we went back to the roots where we were like, okay, let's have this just super claustrophobic horror movie set in, you know, the voidest space.
Totally.
And just play off of that atmosphere. And it's great.
And the third movie, going back to, obviously we're talking about trilogies being expanded upon into franchises, but Terminator and Alien both have trilogies, and in the third one, it's an interesting trend that they seem to want to combine elements of the first two movies. So for Terminator, we had the T-800 and the T-1000 in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And then, I can't remember what the tagline is for the third one, but it's basically like a metal...
It's
like
a hybrid.
It's like a hybrid of the first two.
Yeah.
And then Aliens, we had like one xenomorph, many xenomorph, and then we had like weird xenomorph dogs in like a foundry station
more
or a mining planet. More hybrid weirdness, but not like freaky hybrid, not like Alien 4 hybrid, but
like
where
it got super weird.
Enough so that it felt more natural in terms of the development.
Yeah,
and then it kind of rounded out as a series of 3 movies that was more focused on the story of the original Ripley, the character from the first movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with Terminator.
It
was sort of rounded out this original story.
Yeah, because afterwards we got
Salvation,
which didn't really even focus on Arnie.
Yeah, and so as soon as we keep recasting the characters, we kind of just like lose that.
Yeah.
So I would say that Terminator and Alien, even though the first 2 movies clearly outshine the third, in these trilogies, they do form trilogies.
Yeah. No, I guess that's very true. But it also shows that the third movie in these trilogies tends to be the weakest, because it's trying to combine the elements that made the first and the second great and kind of just falls flat doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Creating a hybrid.
Definitely.
You know?
I think...
And you can argue that Star Wars almost did a similar thing, despite the fact that Star Wars was written slightly differently, because Star Wars, as we talked about, was the kind of sequel that was written with a third movie rounding it off in mind.
Yeah, totally.
Because Terminator 2 can stand alone, Aliens can stand alone. Like the sequel, sure, making it a trilogy, the idea was there, but it wasn't really like we were left on a cliffhanger the same way
exactly.
Empire Strikes Back leaves us.
Yeah, and I think that's a good lead into our other point, the second sort of formula for a franchise that we have, which is a sort of like a proof of concept, and then greenlighting another 2 movies to form a trilogy.
Yeah.
Because whereas Alien and Terminator, it's pretty clear that they sort of greenlit movies as they were coming up.
Yeah.
There are a number of trilogies out there where it's pretty clear that they're just going with, here's a proof of concept, all right, this is a huge success, we can capitalize on it, let's just write 2 movies and then we'll get them out in the next 2 or 3 years.
And arguably, these are better, because when we look at our examples for this, we got Star Wars, we got Back to the Future, it's written the exact same way, the Batman trilogy from Nolan, stuff's just, I mean, you know I don't like Batman...
Kung Fu Panda?
Batman Rising, what was it again?
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I thought it was a garbage movie, but as a whole, the trilogy is definitely a lot stronger than the Terminator trilogy.
Yeah, 100%. I totally get the you get the sensation of development though. I feel watching Back to the Future 2, I get a little bit of whiplash because they totally add in concepts in Back to the Future 2 that don't necessarily sit well in the context of the first movie. Like they add in this whole like Marty doesn't like being called a chicken.
That was in the first one as well.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
You're wrong.
Where was it in the first one?
he starts a fight because of it with his I think it's his dad's bully. Like, you know, the one who grows up to be his boss. Then
he totally doesn't.
Nah, like, we can look this up.
He totally doesn't.
I'm willing to bet you money that they already had that in the first movie.
I mean, they probably had the line calling him a chicken.
No,
I don't think.
I recall. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty much certain that what happens is he goes back in time, right, and he encounters Biff. Is that his name?
Yeah, Biff Tannen.
Yeah, that's right. And Biff is bullying his dad, and then he's trying to stand up for the guy. And then he has to walk away because he's about to start a fight, and then Biff calls him a chicken, and then a fight breaks out. I'm not sure what happens afterwards because it's been a while since I watched it, but I'm willing to guarantee you that the whole chicken, like him not being called a chicken aspect is already there.
All right. Well, in any case, it definitely feels like way more focused upon in the sequels as an element.
Not so much in the third movie though.
Big time in the third movie.
When?
Because he has to, the whole arc of when he gets back from the future, you know, the very ending of the trilogy is him like in the car, and then he's gonna start drag racing this guy because this guy calls him a chicken.
Oh, true.
And then he doesn't drag race him.
Yeah.
So it's a much more, but I see conceded if that does exist.
Yeah, no.
Which I still think it doesn't based on my personal subjective memory, but.
Memory's reconstructed. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. We can look it up later.
So, Back to the Future is the double sequel thing, right? That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
What are the good examples of what kind of, you know, how does that develop? What's the... So Back to the Future, it's pretty obvious that they had Zemeckis write 2 and 3 straight afterwards. But we have also... in this category, we have Batman movies, which I don't think were written the same way, nearly as much. Because, like you said, still The Dark Knight feels like a separate entity from Dark Knight Rises and Batman Begins. But obviously, you can't have the Dark Knight Rises without the Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean, then again, all you need is just the origin story for a good 5 minutes. And you can realistically just have Dark Knight Rises. No,
because Dark Knight Rises is all about all about the lie that they agree to at the end of the Dark Knight.
True.
So I think totally, like, it was written sort of one movie at a time, but obviously they greenlit 2 sequels and pushed out 2 sequels, and Nolan had to write the 2 sequels.
Yeah.
And the third movie really suffers because of it, so maybe it's like somewhere in between our 2 models.
I think Nolan, he kind of wanted to go for having movies that could stand alone, right? Without feeling like a coherent trilogy, while at the same time having this very, these are my 3 works, you know, this is my trilogy of Batman.
I mean, I think that Nolan, you know, had his fill with The Dark Knight, and he was like, I've done everything that I could possibly do to bring art to this blockbuster genre of film.
Yeah.
And then The Dark Knight Rises had to be made, and so we made it. and then now he's just fully abandoned superhero movies forever.
I mean, yeah.
I think he's never going to touch the stuff again, because he's like a true like scopic filmmaker at heart. He wants to make these Dunkirks and Interstellars and shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but when you take Dark Knight Rises, he kind of like it felt half-assed, and I see where you're coming from that perspective. But he still really wanted to bring his touch to it. It wasn't like he fully abandoned the project.
His touch exists. I think his touch even exists in movies like the Batman v Superman, even though it was directed by Snyder and you know, for all intents and purposes botched. I think his touch of like bringing some broader philosophical aspect to the movie is definitely explored.
Well, Snyder basically watched the Dark Knight trilogy, and he was like, "That's what I want to do," and he messed it up because Snyder doesn't tell stories. Snyder, like, this is covered in a bunch of video essays, but Snyder wants to make movies to have moments. You know, I mean, you take movies like 300, it does that perfectly. That's all the movie needed to be.
I disagree. I think Snyder wants to inject an element of philosophy into the DC movies that he directed. He wanted to. There is a producer credit for Nolan for Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, so you don't know how far that sort of went. If he
that's genuinely there.
Token.
Exactly.
I think it's just a token
for them to be able to say like, "Oh, Nolan played a part in this." You know?
Yeah, I think he got an executive producer role just because of that stuff.
Name.
But even if so, like, I think the broader sort of existential questions carry over from the second and third movies of the Dark Knight trilogy into Snyder's verse, where he's having all kinds of discussions about religion and power and what it means to exist as Superman and who you want to be, and
I see what you mean,
stuff like that.
But my argument would basically be they're so superficial and so weakly delivered.
Oh no, totally.
That I think that he may have had the idea there for like a day, but he kind of just put it in as a, hey, look, guys, I'm being like Nolan. You know, he doesn't know what the hell he's actually doing with these ideas or how to present it.
Totally, I think.
For Nolan, they're an actual integral part of the movie.
The movie.
For Snyder, he wants to show off. Like,
yeah,
look at how deep I am.
The movie suffers from being too heavy with everything.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't have the patience that Batman definitely
because it's too focused on just having these epic moments.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
that's a sweeping sort of. That's like a glanced look at it, but yeah,
it's true. It's an overgeneralization, but it's certainly like the overall impression that I got from watching Snyder's DC movies.
Yeah, I read a bunch of stuff about how they were screening those movies in churches, specifically Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. They had advanced screenings in churches to scan whether it would do well with religious audiences, and it did, obviously, because Superman is the ultimate Christ symbol.
Yes.
But it's just like, it's kind of seedy in that aspect. Anyway, we're getting out of hand with discussing sort of how creative minds like push franchises and then it gets picked up and developed upon. So
I think to kind of close off our discussion about trilogies, we should talk about like what you and I agreed to be the best trilogy, which is Toy Story.
From
Pixar, because Toy Story does like everything that we described would make a good trilogy, and as a result just delivers.
Oh yeah.
Because Toy Story, like it's done by Pixar, so they're not going to lose executive control. They're not going to lose two executive producers trying to take control.
Yeah, because it's a writing room.
Because they're a really tight team, and they just
put it to the floor.
They have this reputation. They can't really be messed with in that regard.
And I think what it is it's like with Toy Story, they never mishandled the identity of the identity of the
like the idea.
Yeah, the idea, because we compared in our notes, in our discussions before this, we compared Toy Story with Cars, which is the other sort of trilogy in Disney's library. And no, like seriously,
Pixar.
Seriously, they fuffed the second movie. They fucked it up entirely by sort of not understanding that Cars is a movie about being a star, being a superstar. It's about fame, really, and it's about like egos, and it's about your personal like integrity and all kinds of stuff like that in the face of being an athlete.
Yeah.
Because it's about racing, sure, but the
little
first and
cars.
third movies really sell that
Yeah.
as the identity of the Cars franchise, but then it just gets completely lost in the second one because they just have no idea what they're doing.
Because it's a wacky.
Whereas it's very clear that with Toy Story, Pixar kept in mind what they wanted the identity of the franchise to be, and it's that toys are there to be played with.
Yeah.
Toys are,
Are there to be passed
characters in your life as much as they are just objects that you play with.
Yeah.
And then they develop on that and they explore it in different ways in the sequels, and it is really, really, really strong.
Yeah, yeah.
And
because
of that.
all three movies can stand alone and just be very strong movies on their own, it makes it all the better to watch them together. Because they do both. It's the best of both worlds. They're great standalone movies, but at the same time, if you watch all three of them, like that third movie will just destroy you at the end.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you've been through this whole journey.
Absolutely.
And it's coherent, it works.
Yeah.
It's your ultimate trilogy, basically.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of a better example.
I love Toy Story.
Yeah.
It's such a good trilogy.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking for a consistent trilogy, there aren't that many that aren't Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but like we said, Lord of the Rings kind of it's cheap because it's a traditional trilogy. It's already based on a trilogy.
It's cheap to say that it's a good trilogy because it was written as a trilogy.
Not taking away from the fact that it's very well done.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? But yeah, Toy Story was kind of like, it started as just the one movie, and then Pixar was like, let's keep going. Let's make this trilogy, and they just nailed it.
God, I love those fucking movies.
And now we're getting Toy Story 4, and I can't wait for that to just ruin everything.
It could not. Can you imagine?
I hope it doesn't. Like, my God.
I know you fucking hate Incredibles 2.
Oh, shit. We haven't had many negative opinions this episode, have we? We'll get to that when we get to...
Incredibles 2, man. It's a good movie. You're a fucking asshole. You're a cynical.
Look, at least we can both agree that Cars 2 is like the worst thing that Pixar did.
Dude, Cars 2 is a piece of shit.
It's a 1 out of 10.
Oh,
and like I can't believe that it comes from the same studio that did Toy Story and Toy Story.
I don't know.
I think trilogy.
I think if we look down the list, real quick. How much time do we have? We could just smash out like 5 minutes, do a franchise rating. I'll go down the list. Back to the Future.
Just
Dude,
on the spot. Yeah. Let me.
Go.
That's Back to the Future is great. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Toy Story.
10 out of 10. It's the best.
Kung Fu Panda.
7 out of 10.
Star Wars, the original trilogy.
8 out of 10 as well.
Really? You give it an 8? All right. Child's Play, you haven't seen it.
No.
I give Child's Play a 7 out of 10.
Right on.
Cornetto Trilogy.
Oh, damn it.
Which is a footnote that we should have discussed, but I guess we'll get to that in a sec.
I guess it's an 8 out of 10. A lot of these are great.
8 out of 10. Terminator.
Oh, that's like a 6.
Terminator, the trilogy.
Ooh, trilogy. Nah, but even the original was not that enjoyable to me. 6. Yeah, 6.
6? Okay. Batman.
The Nolan?
Yeah.
7.
7?
Nah, but then again, Dark Knight is so good.
Evil Dead.
Oh, man. 6.
Hold
on. I want to hear your opinions as well. Like
on the Batman ones.
Go over the list and like give me what you say.
All right. Back to the Future gets an 8 from me.
Right.
Because I think the first movie is a 9 out of 10. The second and third movies bring it down. Toy Story is 10 out of 10, same.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda is a 9 out of 10. This is a trilogy rating, by the way. I'm rating it as a trilogy, not as movies. The Star Wars original trilogy gets fucking 7 out of 10.
Good.
Child's Play, I give it a 7. Cornetto Trilogy, I give it an 8. Terminator, the trilogy, gets a 6. The third movie brings it way down. Third movie's like a 4 out of 10.
So bad.
Batman also gets a 6. Third movie brings it way down, and Batman Begins is already barely a 7.
Rough around the edges. Yeah.
6 or 7. Evil Dead, I've actually not seen the third one in a long time.
That one's great. It's the best in the series.
I'm going to say, based off of my knowledge of the series and trying to remember back to it, I'm going to say that the Evil Dead was a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Spider-Man... Which you got Spider-Man, go. You got to do yours.
Yeah, dude, like Spider-Man 2 and 3 has been a long time for me, but that's probably like a 4 out of 10.
Spider-Man's a negative 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's so bad, it's so funny. It's so bad, it's so funny.
It's hilarious.
Alien.
Alien Trilogy. 5, 6 out of 10, same as Terminator.
Okay, and the last... I'll give Alien a 7 out of 10. And the last one we'll do is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a 7.
That's a 7?
It's better than Terminator.
All right, I'll give it a 7 too.
An Alien.
I actually, you know,
because the original's so enjoyable, and I love
Convinced
what's his face, Bill Nye. Yeah, that's him. He carries. in
Oh,
the
dude,
second
he's
and third
so
movie.
good.
He
He's
is
so
good.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
What about Lord of the Rings?
Oh Lord, come on! It's like that's a 9, if not 10.
All right,
it's so good.
And
Extended edition 10.
I'll agree with you.
Like original 9.
I'll agree with you. And then the last one, Cars, because we talked about it.
Right. God, that second movie is so bad.
It's a 5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, no, it's probably a 5 out of 10 because first one is mediocre,
The first
second
one's
one
like
is garbage, and the
first
third
one
one
is
redeems it.
yeah.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, but you can't have the third one without the first one.
Mm.
So it's only a success as a trilogy because of the dynamic between the first and third movies.
Because the trilogy is a redemption arc of its own, and that's kind of amazing.
Okay, and we're sort of we've got 25 minutes left. We'll just go quick. Few minutes aside to talk about Cornetto Trilogy because it's on my list and we didn't talk about it.
Right.
This is an anthology trilogy.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's a bit unique in that regard.
Conceptually, it's so like... It's just so like, yeah,
It's
alright,
tight.
I'm fucking fully down. The humor's there.
Yeah.
The tone is like perfect.
It carries across all movies, for sure.
It doesn't carry, but it like fluctuates in the right way for each movie.
I'd say the comedy
Because-
carries across, but you're right in that the first one was Shaun of the Dead.
The first one tonally is about like sort of laziness and sort of dry silliness. The second one tonally is about more, it's more serious in terms of a lot of aspects of it, but the comedy, obviously Edgar Wright can still fucking direct that shit any day. And then the third one goes full like silly, zany, kind of cocky, you know?
I disagree. I'd say that the biggest difference is in tone, obviously, with
That's what I'm
the
saying.
genres.
That's what I'm saying.
That it's emulating in each movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Comedy-wise, the
consistent.
execution is on point every movie.
For sure.
But tonally, they vary in like the right distance,
Right.
even though they maintain a level of consistency
Yeah.
in terms of how serious they're obviously taking themselves,
Right.
which I love.
Yeah, no, I see that. It's mostly just like you gotta appreciate that trilogy for what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's so just oddball.
Yeah.
You know, like they're these stories that kind of exist on their own.
Yeah.
You know, that are just totally not related to each other at all. Yet they have such a consistent style. And
Would you
obviously
say-
putting Simon Pegg and Nick Frost together every movie just makes them feel like they're together. You know.
Would you say Predator is another anthology thing? Because it's never the same Predator, nor is it the same character. Well, maybe the second one, but I was
The
kind of
concept of the Predator is always there, though, so you can't really compare it to
Yeah,
the
that's
Cornetto
true.
trilogy.
That's true, but it feels more anthology based.
I see where you're coming
there's
from.
There's no through line narrative.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But with the Cornetto trilogy, we're going from like a horror movie to a like mystery thriller to just a straight up wacky sci-fi movie,
It's true.
and that's so jank, that's so weird.
We need to see more of those.
And yeah,
That
I
needs to.
love it.
That needs to be more of a thing.
That
He needs to
definitely
make
should
more
be.
movies. Motherfucking Edgar Wright. Go direct Ant-Man 3, please.
I mean, yeah, but that's not going to happen because I think at this point Marvel would just refusing to make a point. To
I
be
mean,
like, no.
you know, we don't do news on this podcast, but they cancelled Luke Cage and they've cancelled Iron Fist, and they're just gonna fucking. I'm pretty sure the director dropped off of Jessica Jones season 3 too. Like, dude,
That
Marvel's
doesn't sound like a good
cutting
thing.
the fucking rope on this, or maybe it's Netflix. I don't know, one of them, but it's fucking sad.
Mm.
And it's not sad because those are the mediocre series.
Yeah.
Iron Fist is definitely like the weakest.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh well. We're not a fucking news podcast. Fuck that.
No, like besides we had him. You know, it was kind of cool to see how.
Daredevil's phenomenal.
Daredevil's great.
I haven't started season 3. I'm gonna.
But what you said about the problem with these series is the fact that sure they're Marvel, it's great, but they're never tied to the movies. They're never like related to the movies
Some
at all.
people are okay with it. I think that as long as if it was just Daredevil, I would be super okay with it. But because they get all weird and existential, and Iron Fist has superpowers like full on like mystic dragon shit, and they don't even mention the Sorcerer Supreme, or they don't do anything with any of the characters that they are associated with that are in the MCU.
Yeah.
It struggles for me. The broader the scope got, the less I was like, how have none of these characters interacted with Spider-Man,
Yeah.
or any of the heroes that are local to New York.
It kind of makes the whole Marvel logo being attached to it feel like it's a token thing, you know, which is
Yeah.
a shame because it could be so much more.
Yeah, it's more like, why the fuck haven't they put the Green Arrow TV show into a movie yet?
Exactly.
Because that makes more money as a TV show. Anyway,
But yeah, that leads us to
speaking of Marvel,
exactly. Leads us to, what was it? Phase 3, Part 1.
Phase 3, Part 1 are rewrites. This is very interesting because we started with the idea of having 3 movies, but I guess we're only just having 4 movies, but I guess we're only discussing 3.
Yeah, because we're cutting one out, basically.
We're not cutting one out. We'll get to that.
Right. Yeah.
That's the
First up. Let's have our ratings. This is going to be the fun part.
Oh my god.
So for Phase 3 Part 1, we've got Civil War, we've got Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, and Spider-Man. Now, Civil War, I gave an 8 out of 10.
Number 7.
A 7.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought that it was like, it felt like the Avengers, but even more, because the Avengers kind of played with the idea of, oh, hey, we're a team, but we don't really want to be a team, and we have conflict because of that. And then Civil War was like, yeah, let's go.
I think this is a little more subjective, but I love the Civil War comic book. I think it's great. And, like, I don't know. It's just... It's interesting. I definitely think Civil War is a good movie. 7 out of 10 is not a bad rating.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's just not a fucking masterpiece. And I don't think
it ain't. That's for sure.
There's one movie on this list that I put up there, you know?
Right.
I put up there with that stuff, and but Civil War is like, it's hard to discuss it for me because I just have this really rough idea of like, Iron Man is just such a fucking strange element of the movie, and
tonally they struggle to get him right. Yeah, because one moment he's the Iron Man that the audiences know and love, and the next they're actually trying to develop him as a character.
And they spend so much time juggling the rivalry between Captain America and Iron Man, and then there's this weird thing between Iron Man and fucking T'Challa. Well, is there even a thing? They don't even explore that dynamic, and then Captain America has this weird thing with T'Challa, and T'Challa has a weird thing with the Winter Soldier, and then there's like some interactions between the Winter Soldier and Falcon, and it's like there's too much going on,
right?
In a weird way that they didn't.
But like it could never be a 10 or even a 9 because there was just too much going on.
And then they add the Spider-Man stuff on top of like, holy fuck, we have this Black Panther subplot. We have like all of the different character interactions that have to fucking happen. Yeah. We have an Iron Man subplot. Winter Soldier, ex Captain America, bromance going
don't
on.
The fanfics anymore. We
have a Winter Soldier ex Captain America bromance going on.
Yeah.
We have, like I said, we had the Iron Man thing. We had the Black Panther thing. Then we have the whole like Sokovia Accords thing.
Look, I think summary of this is you get lost in the chaos of this movie, right? And it's either you like doing that, or you think like, okay, this is a little too much, and that's basically where you were.
Yeah, that's really where I was sitting with it. A 7 out of 10 is probably as good as I'm ever going to give this movie.
And I see that, but I disagree. Now, next one, you and I are probably going to agree. Doctor Strange, that is a 5 out of 10.
Oh, I have it written as a 6, but I actually fully agree that it's 5.
It is just your by the books generic origin story, and I'm never going to watch it again.
Which sucks
because I sat there like, wow, I am so bored and like so mildly entertained by the fancy visuals.
Though, to be honest, I fucking loved the kaleidoscope shit.
Oh yeah, that was great, right? It's just
awesome.
A pity that none of it actually mattered because the story is just so boring.
Him like tumbling through space, like
that
was a meme for like 2 weeks afterwards that movie came out, and I kind of fucking loved it.
Yeah,
I love the way that the Doctor Strange is them embracing is the second time in these movies that they really embrace the whole like the original era of Marvel Comics. They do the Jack Kirby art. They do all of that cool stuff. They do visually explore comic books in a way that Iron Man and Captain America never did.
It's just a shame that it felt so empty because story-wise, it was just completely lacking in every department.
I think, yes. I think...
Like you can look as nice as you want as a movie, and I appreciate like good effects, but if the story isn't there to back it up, then it all falls flat because you sit there like, oh, these are very fancy visuals, but it means nothing.
Totally. I think that they missed the opportunity to have a really nice like you know,
that movie could have been great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that in our rewrites because I think what we've got.
Yeah, let's just move on. We can criticize it a little more when we get to rewriting.
Here we go. Guardians 2, 4 out of 10.
It's a 7 out of 10, buddy.
It's better than the 3 out of 10, which I gave the original, but it's still not a good movie.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh my god, there's just so much working against this movie.
You're actually just a sad, cynical, black-hearted asshole.
I'm really not. I'm giving these relatively good scores. It's just
relatively good.
Look, I like Civil War. Doctor Strange was passable. The movies I've rated before were decent. Guardians 1 and 2 are both just shit. That's what they are. And it's because of weak character writing. It's because of obnoxious, like, self-celebrating attitudes. It's bad.
Actually, I gave this a 7. I wrote down my ratings after last week's episode, after we recorded last week.
Right.
I actually might agree with you as well. Because I think critically, like, fondly, I remember Guardians 2 for a number of different jokes and especially aspects of the Yondu... Rocket Raccoon storyline was really, really funny. Which was
the best aspect
but
of the movie.
I was totally keyed out. I was totally, like, zoned out for all of the ego stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I love the music, and I love the aesthetic of the characters and the world that they inhabit. Like, this area of the MCU is so aesthetically... interesting. Same reason that Doctor Strange was aesthetically interesting. Same reason the first Guardians was aesthetically interesting.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Polished. It's just like when you look at the substance, you're like, there's nothing there.
I actually really see that. I don't know. When I thought about, because I kind of gave these off the cuff, I just kind of wrote them.
Yeah.
Like a 7 out of 10 is, I think, reserved for, like, you know, a movie that is actually consistently attention grabbing in all areas.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if I think critically back to when I was watching this movie, because I think I saw it twice. Someone took me a second time to see it in the cinema. And there are elements of it that I love. There are definitely elements of it that I love. But there are elements of Captain America that I love. There are elements of Thor that I love. This movie is it's probably sitting on a 4 as well for me if I really think about it. Like, you really brought me down. Not brought me down. You really like if just thinking about when we were rewriting these, I'm just thinking like, wow, like,
there's so little to it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like, genuinely, I'd be so interested to hear what some people think of my opinions of Guardians, because I've had family yell at me after going to see these movies with them because they're like, you cynical asshole, just enjoy something for once. And I'm sitting there like, look, I would, but these are bad movies.
So here's the thing. I think that you're really colored on Guardians 1. I think that you really hate that movie for different reasons.
Yeah, Guardians 2 is actually just a bad movie.
Guardians 1...
Guardians 3, I hate... I mean, Guardians 1, though, I hate conceptually. Guardians 2 is just a bad movie.
I love Guardians 1, and I actually think it was a better watch for me than Guardians 2.
Right.
Considering how invested I was in the plot of Guardians 1, I think it was a better watch.
I feel that.
Which, let's have a look quickly. I gave it a... Doobie-doobie-doo... Guardians of the Galaxy got a 7. I reckon I give this a 4.
Damn. So you're sticking to the 7, but then dropping 2 to a 4.
I'm sticking to the 7 because Guardians 1 had such a cool, like, grasp on its identity, but what kept it from being great was that ending for me.
Oh, yeah.
Is the dance-off thing. It was super corny, and they kind of abuse it for a few jokes down the line, but it's not worth it when it kind of sacrificed how serious the movie should have been taking itself at that point.
Yeah.
And then
should have been coming together.
But then for this movie, it's sort of just like goes full like self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And there's so much of it that's really weak, and there's so much of it that's really good, and I still love it. I still love James Gunn as a director, but like because of the way he took the direction, you know, of Guardians, it's like we're just going to focus on family. The whole family dynamic, that's going to be our central core of these movies going forward. It sucks that he got fired, but I just think, like, man, it's depressing that I'm fucking criticizing this too much, but it gets a 4.
It's my most cynical opinion on Marvel, but I feel like no one's
fucking evil, dude.
No one's been able to convince me. No one's been able to, like, tell me why these movies are good and make it, like, have it make sense to me. But yeah. Genuinely, let us know in the comments what makes these movies so good. What am I not seeing? You know, Then we'll move on to Spider-Man. 7 out of 10.
You give it a 7?
Yeah.
I give it an 8.
Nice. I mean, I see where you're coming from because you love that movie.
I
was sitting there
movie.
like, this hits every, like, it ticks every box, you know? It's a fun watch, but there's just some stuff that makes it super generic. Like the whole high school Peter Parker being, oh, look, I'm the quirky weird guy.
No, but I love that. I love that.
For me, that felt super generic.
I mean, everyone and their mum has also written, video essays just fucking plaguing this movie because they're all like, oh, it's all about it's like the Breakfast Club stuff.
Yeah.
It's about all those fucking old movies. It's great. And I'm like, yeah, that aspect of it's really cool. But for me, it was just like, Peter Parker is always about splitting your life.
Right.
You have to decide to be. You can't decide to be Spider-Man. You need to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
For the sake of other people.
Yeah.
So he decides to stop being Spider-Man, and his life turns around.
Right.
Like, he gets the girl when he stops being Spider-Man.
Right.
And then from getting the girl, like, he's then sitting there and he has this moment of danger unleashed upon him because he feels secure in his life outside of Spider-Man, and then the Vulture's sitting there and he's like, dude, like, don't do shit or I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
And like, I'm gonna fucking make money off of this, and I'm gonna continue to sell weapons, and it's gonna be my livelihood, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and like, don't fucking come near me, or I will kill you.
Yeah, yeah. And the Vulture feels like a real threat because it is.
Because of not because of the character himself, because of his sudden and immediate proximity to that side of
That's what I mean.
Peter
Exactly.
Parker's life.
It's a threat to something that he doesn't have as much control over as Vulture just rocking up in his suit and trying to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
As Spider-Man.
See, I think
when he's Spider-Man.
I think that's exactly what I love is like in a lot of these Spider-Man movies that the whole idea of him being a failure is such a big part of like Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Peter Parker's a
love it.
loser.
I love him being awkward.
Yeah.
I love it all. It's
Right.
great.
No, it is good, but
I
yeah,
love him.
there's just elements that are so generic to this, like
I
the
love him.
fat Asian sidekick, like just the supporting cast in general.
But
they drag it down.
But
man.
here's the thing: like, they don't make a joke out of any aspect of it, and it's
they don't
not
make
like
a joke out of the fact that he's fat. They just make a joke out of the fact that he's a loser.
No, he's not.
No, he is.
No, they do. Okay. First of all, I'm putting down the notes.
Oh, here we go.
Because you're a fucking cynical prick.
Can
okay?
you? Oh, you know what? Just get to the point.
All right.
Tell me what's
Fuck.
up.
The character finds success in the movie when they go to do the decathlon. He is like the star player of the team.
Right.
Like he actually finds success in the movie. He's not depicted as a failure, as the butt of every joke, as a loser.
Right.
The only person who's depicted negatively in that whole high school is Flash Thompson.
Right.
Or Peter Parker. Because Peter Parker's a selfish prick who only cares about being Spider-Man. He doesn't, or not only cares about being... It's important that you care about being Spider-Man, but he's cocky. He's overstepping his bounds. He's not sitting in where he's supposed to be.
He makes mistakes because he wants to be popular. Yeah,
but
I see that.
he's depicted negatively because of that, right? He's like, I'll enter the, hey everyone, I'm Spider-Man. Where's my friend Peter Parker? Like, he wants to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's depicted negatively, and then Flash Thompson, who's just an asshole, is depicted negatively. And you get your catharsis when he's fucking driving the car. Hilarious.
It's great. True.
So funny.
Yeah.
But the sidekick character, like, he's there... he's not like a foil or anything. He's just there to be like this character who's just, hey, I'm living my life. I'm a good big central element of Peter Parker's life outside of Spider-Man that is now interacting, in the same way.
Because some of them also best friends of Spider-Man, right?
Yeah. I love his character.
Yeah, okay, I guess I kind of see that.
I love it. I think it's so good, and he still wins. He's never depicted as like a full-on loser. He's just like, even when they're like, he has the hat, and everyone's like, that's such a dorky hat. Even when he does that, Liz Allen compliments him on his hat.
Right.
That no one makes fun of him.
Yeah,
except for Flash Thompson, but Flash Thompson's an asshole.
But yeah, that's supposed to be what he does.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
he's not a loser. And
he's his friend first, and like they never really make jokes like directly at the expense of him. Yeah.
No.
Because he's not the butt monkey.
He makes like silly jokes in the same way that Spider-Man makes silly jokes in his fights.
I guess I do see that.
100%.
I might just bring it up, actually. I might just bring it up to
Fuck you.
You're so proud of yourself.
I'm so proud of myself. I deserve this.
Yeah, you might just be right this time. Good job. It's a good movie.
It's a fucking great movie.
All right, now we got to get to our rewrites because we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. First off, being Civil War, where we have Zemo being brought up again. And if you guys don't remember Zemo in, Age of Ultron, we made him an active agent there already by expanding on Tony's paranoia by having Zemo kind of infiltrate the Avengers already and being the scientist that works with Tony in order to create Ultron because he wants to sow those seeds of chaos that leads to the division of the Avengers. So and this is kind of, we're going to make this his movie as they do in the original Civil War, by just having him be the guy who tells about the Avengers. Yeah.
So his role is sort of unchanged. In our rewritten version, his role is sort of unchanged, but we do really like the we do like the aspect of his character. We were discussing this, that he is a victim of the Avengers first.
Yeah.
And so we thought we might compound upon that and make him like a Hydra agent, not necessarily like a maniacal evil Hydra agent, just sort of like a worker, a scientist for Hydra, who suffers because Hydra gets disbanded at the end of the Winter Soldier, and then suffers again because his family or whatever die in Sokovia.
I reckon we would. I had a thought about this. We could change it at Hydra as like punishment for his failures in Civil War.
In the Winter
his
Soldier.
Family.
In the Winter Soldier.
I mean, in Winter Soldier, or by the time we get to Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So Hydra is responsible for the death of his family, and because Hydra is gone, he's like, who do I blame? Who's my scapegoat? It's the Avengers.
Yeah.
That leads to Civil War.
Totally, I love it.
That just makes him so much more compelling.
I love it. So this movie is going to interact with our A plot, which if you draw a line from all of our rewrites, our A plot is Iron Man having anxiety about the forthcoming threat of Thanos, which is much more explicit, like with explicit imagery of Thanos from early in these movies leading through to Infinity War.
Yeah.
So this movie definitely plays with the A plot because
suddenly
we
got
want
Tony
to
being just this paranoid dude. Not only, we'd get rid of his parents. Being
we already eliminated Iron Man 2, which is sort of where we see a lot of the development between Tony and his father.
Yeah.
So we just continue that line of thought and eliminate the idea of his parents from Civil War.
Yeah.
Because
we make his paranoia enough of a factor for him to kind of turn on Captain America because of that.
Yeah, so
because he needs the Avengers to unite.
Yeah.
And Captain America doesn't understand where he's coming from because he doesn't see the threat the same way Iron Man does.
Or because Captain America is still, in the same way that he already is in Civil War, he's still too rigid about it. Iron Man's more like I'm doing what I need to do to
protect us.
Yeah, I'm doing what I need to do to protect Earth in the long run.
Yeah.
But Captain America's like, this isn't what you need to do. What you need to do is this. What you need to do is operate like I do and live in this world that's not dictated by higher powers or anything like that.
Because Iron Man he will hardline. He will do all this morally objective shit in the name of protection. Right, whereas Captain America would definitely be opposed to this.
Yeah.
And I think that would lead to our conflict instead, and would still be very strong because it ties directly to Thanos.
Yeah, 100%. And so we're playing with the A plot, and then we've got a little bit of the B plot. Shield's not really a big part of this movie.
At this point, Shield is almost as disbanded as Hydra is, right?
I think later it'll come in. It's definitely going to come in ye oldie Captain Marvel.
I mean, yeah, but that's because it's a flashback movie, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's that for Civil War. We're changing it so that Zemo is a more active threat.
We basically just get higher emotional stakes, I feel, by getting rid of the whole the weak shit that we get with Tony's parents, and instead just bringing Thanos into the picture, having Zemo really be like a villain who plays out in a satisfying way.
Yeah, 100%.
It's more just it's a good movie. It's an
still
8 out of 10, like I said.
It's still a Captain America
but
movie.
we can push it up. Yeah,
it's still a Captain America movie, so we don't have to focus on Thanos and everything is like a big deal. But it still very much exists, and I think that this movie is still should still very much play with the A plot of our MCU.
Yeah, because Captain America basically he'd be looking at Iron Man like, you're a crazy paranoid dude and you're out of control, and he doesn't understand why Iron Man is like that.
Yeah. Okay, so Doctor Strange, we're actually kind of cheating and just like pushing it till later. We thought it would be a good idea because we were struggling to rewrite it in the position that it sits as an introductory movie.
And initially I said, get rid of it, because I don't like it.
Yeah, but I suggested what we do is we move it until after Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So we'll probably cover that next week, in next week's podcast.
Yeah.
So
we kind of have it like Spider-Man Homecoming, where the introduction, the origin has already occurred, and we simply get an adventure, with Black Panther as well.
Exactly.
And it could just be a much better movie than how it turned out.
Oh yeah. And we have a bunch of rewrites in plan, and that movie is definitely more involved in our B plot, which is Thanos. Just a reminder for listeners.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a rewritten version of Doctor Strange, but we're gonna stave that off until next week.
That'll be down the line, exactly.
Okay, so now with our reduced number, 3 of 3 movies. The next one is Guardians 2.
Which is a big one. There'll be a lot of changes there.
A lot of interesting changes. Not a lot of big changes. We're not like completely reforming the movie like we kind of have done with a few others. I was very interested in rewriting this because of your initial notion that we should fully eliminate like ego from the movie and just have it be like a Thanos invading Xandar and getting the Power Stone.
Yeah.
But I thought what we could do is like, because the father-son stuff is still there and still relevant to the Guardians movies, I thought we could maintain that and have the Guardians be really on the run from the siege of Xandar at the beginning, because we still want to show that because it's really cool, a really good moment of engagement from this movie to our B plot. And then Thanos exists in the background of the movie as an existential threat over the course of our relationship with Ego developing, and that still very much exists. The Rocket Raccoon and Yondu B plot and the Guardians A plot.
Yeah.
And then the Ego in the end, before Ego is about to basically wipe out the Guardians, and we don't need this fucking big CGI battle or whatever.
The planet fists.
We just have Thanos just come in and step on his face,
right?
And just destroy him, because
basically what we get is a middle ground between what Guardians 2 is and my initial idea of just full blown war destruction movie, basically, because that wouldn't fit a Guardians movie, and I acknowledge that. So what we'd have instead is we'd have the decimation of Xandar at the start, which is pretty dark, but Guardians didn't really shy away from that either.
No, it didn't.
Right, with the mutiny.
Yeah.
We'd have a scene like that, leading to them actually having a reason to run into Ego, and then Ego kind of being there just to show. I mean, we've already got the destruction of the city to show how much of a threat Thanos is.
Yeah.
But we'd also have him basically wipe out a villain, just to really drive home the point of this is not just like a concept killer, but he's a character killer. And so he does some damage.
I think we should have Ego give some sort of tour de force, because especially in terms of consistency within this movie, the whole dynamic between Yondu, Ego, and Peter Quill is very important to the theme of fatherhood, which is something that plays out across a lot of these movies in Phase 3. So in terms of fatherhood, really big deal that we have a resolution to that arc. So Ego gives enough of a tour de force without being really weird with the action, the way he is in the movie we have. He gives a tour de force and betrays Peter, and the plot plays out in a very similar way, except Ego gets cut off by Thanos.
Yeah, instead of there being it's Deus Ex Machina, the way they beat him at the end, basically.
It's also a setup for something that we had later down the line developing, which was this idea of Nebula being involved with Thanos in Infinity War a lot more, rather than sort of being another B or C tier character that just kind of gets left by the wayside in this movie with like 1 million main actors. It's fucking ridiculous.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, just a thought I had as well recently. We can have Ego maybe possess one of the stones, and that's the reason why Thanos comes bringing the roof down.
I like that as well, because we don't have the stone from Thor 2 in it yet,
which was
the power one, the red one.
So we have a reason for Thanos to actually show up, right, and start just wrecking shit.
No, that's the reality one.
Is it? I keep
it's
losing
reality.
track of
It's the one that but that is important, I think. Which stone would he possess, do you think? Because I don't think he should get the reality one, because the reality one's on Nowhere, the skull thing from
which had a good scene.
Which had a good scene in Infinity War, good payoff in Infinity War that I would rather keep than
for
not.
Sure. I think we'd be able to find a stone along the way because
No, actually, no. We actually already had this discussion.
Eh?
He's not. He's looking for the Soul Stone, and Gamora knows where it is.
Yeah, he needs Gamora.
So Gamora is what he's looking for, and they evade him one more time, and then we get the resolution of this chase sequence in Infinity War.
That's it.
Yeah. That's
it'd be a darker movie, but we'd keep the humor there.
Oh, because it's core.
'Cause it's still
James
Guardians.
Gunn's humor is really good. I think.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the way he writes characters really.
There, I disagree, but I feel like
the way he writes the interactions between the characters that he has. He shouldn't have written Drax to be so silly.
Yeah.
But also, we're keeping that consistent from our rewrite of Guardians 1. Drax is much less campy and silly. He's much more of like a. Just like a brutish dude who makes jokes because of how blunt he is,
Honestly, after the development that he's gone through with Guardians 1 in a rewrite there, his relationship with What's-Her-Face, the Chinese stereotype, could be a lot better as well. Mantis, because we wouldn't make her as much of a Chinese stereotype. We'd make her more of a, just like this girl who's lived her entire life on the ego and is now kind of realizing, how awful that had been and like the things that she's had to do for him. And I feel like he could be a bit more of a father figure to her, instead of just kind of calling her out for being an idiot.
Yeah.
We'd have, just a better dynamic.
Yeah, 100%.
Than just, these two idiots.
All right, and we'll obviously focus on that a little more down the line in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Last one, Spider-Man. We're not really touching this one.
There's one thing that we already talked about, the father-son dynamic. Is a thing that we would change.
I made this recommendation because thematically, fatherhood is a big deal in Infinity War, and it will be in Thor Ragnarok. I want to keep that for our rewrite of Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
and it already is in Guardians 2.
Yeah,
and Civil War. Come to think of it,
fatherhood is just a big thing in the MCU.
I mean, especially this phase, though, like big time in this phase.
I guess it really just kind of starts committing to that,
Yeah. So we're just obviously gonna have a lot more interaction between Iron Man and Spider-Man in this movie. Fucking have that dope shot from the trailer in it, because I was so mad when there was no, hey, it's Spider-Man and Iron Man. Fucking web flipping through Queens. That shit looked awesome.
Right.
We didn't get that at all.
Yeah. No, we should have definitely gotten that. Basically, what I want, which we talked about, is I'd want, once again, to play off of Iron Man's paranoia. So sure, we'd probably get a scene where we actually get the two of them interacting as superheroes, but we want him more like driven by his paranoia instead of just the plot to take away Parker's suit, right? To be like, I need to protect you because I'm afraid you're going to get yourself hurt.
Yeah.
And that's
totally.
playing off of the fact that he's just super fearful of Thanos,
So his delivery in Iron Man, in the original Spider-Man is kind of bad.
It kind of is.
In the context of, it does poorly in the context of our A-plot, because we would change it so that Iron Man's delivery is a lot more, anxious and concerned.
Yeah.
Rather than being straight up just like authoritative, which is what it is.
Yeah. And I feel like that strengthen the idea of him just being a concerned father instead of just this authoritative figure who's like, I gave you a suit, no, your suit's mine again.
Yeah,
which is
fucking sucks.
Kind of the weak part of the movie.
Could you imagine if instead of the whole ending bit where Spider-Man's just like, I think I'll stay on ground level. Can you imagine if instead of that it was just like it was just like kind of like the end of Avengers, or the last little bit of Avengers where Iron Man takes everyone for shawarma.
Oh my god!
Except it's just Iron Man and Peter Parker like eating fast food or some shit.
That would be great.
Dude, that's the kind of shit you just want to see more of.
Yes, man. Like this warm, genuine interaction. Because I feel like a massive payoff as well. How Spider-Man can sort of calm Iron Man down.
Yeah.
Because he's still super paranoid, but at the same time, kind of having this kid be his charge. He can level himself out again. He can kind of be like, oh yeah, but I can still be chill. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. It's
also a side note. I love this. The one joke. It was in the trailer for Homecoming, but like the one joke where Peter goes to, where Tony Stark goes to open the door of the car and Peter goes to hug him.
So good.
It's so tender, but it's so brutal when he's like, I'm not giving you a hug. I'm just opening the door for you. Oh,
I love
so
it.
good.
And that should be at the start of the movie, right? So later on we get the payoff where...
It is at the start of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, right, yeah. So we keep it there.
Yeah.
Because, then later on we get their relationship
dude, I
just
love
develop.
that scene so much.
Good stuff.
That movie is so good. That movie is fucking great.
Yeah, no, there's a reason we leave it mostly untouched.
Yeah. That's it.
Yep, that'd be Phase 3 Part 1.
Alright, so next week we're going to talk about Phase 3 Part 2, which is Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok.
We get Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is what we're going to put in there. And then we're also going to have...
Then we get Civil War, right?
No, we just did Civil War.
Oh, Infinity War, you know what I mean.
Infinity War, but we have another one. There's Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok. There's another one that I'm missing, I swear.
I don't think...
Oh no, I must be thinking of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
You are.
I must be thinking of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
No, yeah, we'd round it off next week with
Infinity War.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which is cool.
We could I reckon we split off early to do that because we can have a huge discussion about Infinity War.
We definitely
because I think critically that's a very important aspect of franchises in recent history.
It's the payoff for everything.
Yeah, so we do talk a lot of Marvel, and we're probably going to stop after we reach Infinity War, but next week is going to be the climax of this.
For sure.
Because I love doing this. It's fucking awesome.
No, hopefully it was a great time to listen to as well, but in any case, we'll be talking about that next week.
Yeah, next week. We're not watching anything this week, are we?
No, probably not.
No, too busy. Sucks. Oh well, next week.
So tune in then, yeah.